Hello, thanks for coming to have a look at how to make this really simple visor. Just before I start to say how to make this, just as a little background, quick introduction. Basically, how I got started was the weekend before last. A doctor contacted me and some other people in the family asking whether anyone could make visors and face masks. They sounded a bit desperate. So I got to thinking about how I could possibly help make a visor. Um, there's some brilliant ones out there being made by 3D printers. I don't have a 3D printer, so I started thinking, could one be made without a 3D printer? And then I started thinking, if we could make one using materials that people have backstage, then there's many people out there who can help get involved with this, and people much more creative than me can sort of take this forward. I'm a production manager, rigger, sometimes line designer, but after you've watched this video, by all means, take this forward, adapt it, move it on. So after a couple of days working with a friend of mine and colleague called Kate, we were able to get a box of these visors made and sent to the hospital where the doctor was working. My suggestion would be that you contact, like we have, people in your local area who have need of these. Um, the government may well be starting to get the frontline NHS people with the proper PPE now. It's difficult to tell when you look at the media. But let's not forget the rest of the NHS and, of course, the care workers, people working in care homes, and possibly, people working in shops too. So I'll see, as I say, using materials we've all got to hand, I'm also going to try and work on see if we can get some supplies to sort of get some of this stuff for free. Okay, so what we need is, I'm going to tilt this down here so you can see better what's going on. What we need is some lighting gel as the actual screen. Um, Roscoe have been really supportive with this project in that I contacted them beginning of last week. Unfortunately, the Roscoe filter I have is not thick enough. So I've used some Lee filter, just what I had around. And this is thicker and seems to do the job well. Ideally, these should obviously be clear, but I've got here a piece of 203, which seems to work really well. So anything similar to that will be fine. It might be um, if I can, it may be possible for me to get some hold of some filter. I'm talking to a supplier, filter uncolored, completely clear, and it might even be slightly thicker as well, but I'm going to work on that. So we need lighting filter, we need pipe lagging for the foam. This is 15mm pipe lagging I just got from Screwfix. I actually had a length of it. I'm actually on annual leave this week, hoping to, well, supposed to be doing some plumbing, but now I'm using the pipe lagging for this. And then gaffer tape, of course, gaffer tape and cable ties. These are 300mm cable ties. I've always said we can fix anything with gaffer tape, cable ties, and maybe some Velcro. So let's see what we can do. And then just some cord to tie it around the back. Ideally, if you've got a glue gun, that's useful. If not, then sellotape will work, or even maybe dig out that scroller tape that no one uses anymore and use that. Okay, so to start with, we take the lighting gel. I've kept the size to A4 size because a lot of the guys making them with 3D printers are using the A4 laminated sheets, and we know that's a good size. Also, I've checked with some regulations from the NHS, and that's okay as well for the actual depth it needs to be. Now, what we need to do though for ours is we need to fold back the short edges just 12mm and then glue them down. This is for two reasons. One reason, it works with the cable ties that I've got, which are 300mm, and two, it importantly gives us that rigidity in the film that we wouldn't have before. This is slightly thinner than the laminated material, but when you've got that glued down like this on both sides, okay, it's rigid enough and works fine. So once we've glued that down 12mm on each side, we then just need to make a header across the top, and this is where the gaffer tape comes in. Here's some black gaffer tape on here. Now what I've just did is the first bit I put across slightly longer and fold it over, and then I put another piece level with the top, which also wrapped around, and then on the front side to seal that, I put a piece that was the width of the screen, okay, and that seemed to work fine for me. gives us our strength when you're at the top where the holes are going to go through. So next we took the pipe lag. We need to get the pipe lag in. We need to get the pipe lag in. We need to cut slots into it so it bends around the head. When I first started doing this, just a quick thing, I just put 4 slots in. It bent really nicely, but feedback is that ideally if we could get rid of these holes in the top, it would be good. So what we moved to was doing 7 slots in V-shaped, so when you put it around your head, they close up like that. That's worked really well. So you need 24 centimeters of foam, seems to work well, and the slots need to be on the opposite side to where that seam is. You know, there's a seam running along here, which is where you put it over the pipes. On the opposite side to that, every 3 centimeters along there, you need to cut slots. What I've found is the slots need to go not halfway through, but maybe just into that hole, and it seems to give it enough flex. If it's shorter than that, it makes it a bit stiffer, but you know, to make it comfortable for the wearer, that seems to work well. When you cut these, I'll just cut one actually quickly. I'd mark along there where they need to go. You're looking for making like 2 very narrow sort of half moon shaped. So yeah, you can see this. So keep it on an angle so you get a V shape, and then sort of go so it's its widest point along the center line like that, and then same again on the other side. I find it easier to turn it around like this. And you end up with this nice V-shaped slot like that, which bends nicely. The maximum width across there is about 4 mil, and that's fine. If it's slightly less, it won't matter, because even when it's got all its slots, it's still got enough flex to keep flexing. Even when the slots are completely closed, it's still got enough flex to flex some more. Once we've done that, we need to make a hole right through, all the way through on that side. Now, what I'm using for that is this skewer. Kate uses a knitting needle, which I think works well, or even possibly better. But you need to then carefully, and I'm cheating slightly here because I've already pushed this through just so I can speed the video up, but push that all the way through with care, all the way right through to the end. What I normally do then is give it a little twist around just to make the hole a bit bigger. I should say the knitting needle probably makes it a little bit bigger anyway than this skewer does. And then we need our first cable tie. So what we need to do, go back to our visor here along with the header. Just inside the seams where you've got the double thickness or triple thickness of gaffer tape and the sort of folded over gel, you need to just make a hole through there with a pair of scissors, just wide enough for the cable ties. Then the cable tie comes through from the front like this, and then we need to thread this through. Okay, this can be a bit stiff to do. It usually goes through, but it can be a bit stiff. If it is, just make the hole a little bit bigger. Of course, now you're watching, it'll be stiff. Basically, thread that right through. We can even get some pliers to grab that out the end if it's not that through. Then just fold that back, sit like that at the edge. So it sits like that at the edge. This end we then tuck through the other hole. We then get our second cable tie and join on like this, and just pull it till it first starts to click. There you go, a couple of clicks, and then through there. That just gives it, starts to give it its initial bend around the head, but gives it lots of flexibility to shape to any kind of shape size head. Okay, so there we go, that's what we got. So then what I normally do is I trim off these cable ties. There's obviously a debate about whether it's best to leave them on because it's less sharp, but I've been trimming them off both sides. I then, according to regulations, the bottom corners need to be curved, so all I've used up to now is a empty roll of gaffer tape as a template, cut round there with a Stanley knife, cut those off both sides, and then all you've got to do is put the tie on. What we've been doing is tying it on one end, just a simple knot around the cable tie that goes through there, going round and then back in and out the other cable tie, and then back onto itself, and then put on a little simple slip knot like this so that it can be adjusted. And if I adjust that roughly to my head, put it on, there you go. That's the visor. So what else do I need to tell you? That's it really. That's how to make it. Have fun with these, adapt them, make them better. Any questions, just come back to me. Yeah, let's see if we can help. Thanks for watching. Bye.